All right. What's good, folks, family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbuds, people of Middle Earth, to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name, I guess, is Patrick Moran still. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. I do appreciate y'all very much. Also appreciate today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just minutes away from Highmark Stadium. All right, I stole his line. I stole his intro. I'm sure I'm going to steal a lot of his Bills content and thoughts over these next couple of weeks leading up to the draft. So I said, you know what? I may as well have him on again. Last year we did a Bills mock draft. It was very well received. Anthony Prohaska, cover one, man. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Sorry for stealing your shit.
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me. That was super funny. So when you open with the "What's good, folks," I was like, and I perked up with that, and I was like, "Oh, that's similar." And then when you did the rest, I was like, "Oh!" And just right before we recorded, you were like, "Oh, I got another little something." That was very well done. I'm still laughing about it. That was very good. That was very good.
That was me paying homage to you, man. And on a serious note, and it's not going to be that serious of a podcast, but on a serious note, I've said this. I've been saying it for a while. You listen to the show. People follow me on social media. Anthony, in my opinion, may be the most underrated Bills content creator literally in the game. Not just to cover one, just in the game, period, man. Your knowledge, your insight, your personality, the way you deliver on the microphone, just again, your personality, everything about yourself, man. I'm a fan, and I've been a fan, and it is truly a pleasure to have you on the show, and I mean it. And Joe from Queens will call me pandering Pat for saying that, and I don't give a shit, man. It's you're one of my favorites. You really are. So it's really cool to have you on.
No, that means a lot. Thank you. You've always been very supportive of, like gave me a great shout on the show when I had Mina Kimes on for the first time last year. And
Yeah.
I appreciate the flowers, to steal one of your phrases. I know a lot of people say that, but I appreciate the flowers that you kind of always throw my way, and how effusive you are, and kind of your praise of me and recognition of that. And I tell you every time, anytime I see in an episode or you tweet something about it, I always DM you about it, because that stuff, it sincerely means a lot, and I really appreciate it. All the kind words and the support. I thank you for it.
My pleasure, boss. We're going to be doing our second in a series of Buffalo Bills full 7-round mock drafts. Trades will at least be on the table. No obligation to make any trades, but they're certainly going to be on the table. Also, we talked about this for just a few minutes before we went on the air. We're going to be doing something different here, at least on this show. There's a site called sticktothemodel.com. It's a mock draft simulator, and I saw Joe Marino from Locked On Bills on Wednesday morning post about it. I checked it out. I spent a couple hours on there, and I really like it. So that's the outlet that we're going to go with today. Kind of throwing a little bit of a curveball because, like you said, man, you never know what's going to come up. This is kind of brand new to you. Like I said, trades are on the table. I personally like this site more than PFF. I like PFF, but I like this site a little bit more because we could pause it and take a look at players and see where we're at with things, which is something with PFF you can't do. You can't really look at players again and see who might be available at a certain point until you're on the clock. So that's what we're going to do today. I got a couple questions before we get into our 7-round mock. Actually, let me ask you the most important question. This will be the most important question of this entire podcast. Ready? Who's going to leave WrestleMania Night 2 as WWE champion? Is it going to be Cody Rhodes? Is it going to be John Cena?
It's got to be Cena, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like just with this being his last ride and the story, and just with Cody's run, I feel like this is a really good end point for him and a nice way to continue the story. That match is going to bore the absolute hell out of me in the ring. And I can't stand Cody as a character. I also can't stand Cena. So I'm like torn, but I do think it makes sense to give it to Cena, and just kind of let him run as this man, like heel champion John Cena. We finally got it, like 2025. Also, like, younger me wants to see that. I want to see this thing like run its course. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Cena.
Yeah, I am too. I hope Cena wins. I'm a heel guy. I've always liked the heels, man. I've never been a John Cena guy either, but him turning heel kind of did it for me. He's a victim. He's a victim.
That was so good. The way, yeah. Lean into it. Yeah, do it. Pull the trigger.
Uh, um, let's talk about this too before we get into the mock. So over at cover one, and this has just really been impressing the hell out of me. The film room, yourself, Eric Turner. I mean, you guys always do good work, but recently it's kind of went like next level, not just with you guys, with Buffalo Bills players, many of them prominent players. Just this past week, you had Connor McGovern on. You've had Groot on recently, Terrell Bernard, the new guy, Michael Hoyt. Alec Anderson, all these guys recently. What's that been like for you, to do the show with Eric and then have guys who you break down their film, you talk about them every day, every week, and to have them come on your show and give you their own insight? Obviously, that's invaluable. You're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. Nothing could get better than that. Just talk about that, just being able to do shows with some of these guys and the fact that they trust you and Eric enough to come on and talk football with you. That's a big nod to the cap to you guys. But just talk about that experience recently of getting all these guys to come on and chop it up with you over film.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like selfishly, it starts with, hearing them say things that like we've pondered to ourselves, or like I'll make notes on certain things of what I think is happening, and then to your point, what you said, like to hear it from the horse's mouth and have them confirm like what I thought, and knowing that I'm seeing the game correctly, or I'm seeing it the way that they're seeing it. It's like that's the most rewarding thing out of all of it. Well, arguably the most rewarding thing, because Eric and I say it all the time, as much as anyone thinks they know, and we grind a ton of tape, you really don't know unless you're in the huddle. Like there are,
Right.
I gave the example. I can't remember if we were offline or on. No, I think we were offline when I said it. We had Dean Marlowe on like 2 seasons ago, I think. We were breaking down his interception in the wild card game against Miami. And this play plays out like cover 3. I would have bet everything in the world that it was cover 3 for Marlowe's interception. And we're introducing it, and he's like, "Oh no, that was quarters." Like he essentially kind of went rogue and decided to buzz down. Poyer saw him do it and rotated to the post to cover for him, but it played just like textbook cover 3, and it wasn't cover 3. And I'm already a paranoid person, and that is always stuck in my brain of being like, no matter how sure you are, you're never really sure until you know. So getting them to confirm things for us, and then being able to sit down and ask them questions and give us feedback, and just the back and forth, it's tremendously rewarding. And then they've said it on air and they say it offline too, like just they know who we are. And they recognize, like they've watched other guys on the show, and they credit us for like knowing the game and how we see it and how we break it down. And that's tremendously humbling and tremendously rewarding. And it makes all the work that we put into it, like, and it's a lot, man. It's almost like a second job. Like I watch probably like anywhere from 25 to 30 hours of tape every week, not just Bills. Like, and it's a lot, man.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have those episodes and have them really make you feel more rewarding than just what we already do.
Yeah, for sure. And look, this is it's very talented market. There's lots of really good Bills content creators out there. There's lots of good shows. And it's let's call it what it is. It's a saturated market. It's hard to stand out sometimes. It's hard to do something unique that other people aren't doing. So to be able to not just break down film with that in itself, the way you guys do it is unique, but to be able to get players who give you that firsthand knowledge of first person knowledge of what's going on just kind of takes that to another level. So congratulations. And if you guys have not watched, go back and go on the Cover One YouTube channel. Go watch some of these film breakdowns. It's really, really cool.
And it really puts into perspective. Like I've said it so much on the shows, and I keep saying it to everybody who asks me about it. Like we know, like in the NFL, you have to have like, size and strength and athleticism and ability. And these guys do. But having them on the show, like you see how smart they are. Like they're able to break down the science of football. Like, and it is, like Greg Rousseau is a great example. Like everyone's like, "Oh man, he's so like long and he's so big and strong." Listen to him break down hand placement and how he's reading like offensive tackle sets and where he's going to put his hand based on how their shoulders are angled and what they're doing. Like the science of it all. Hearing Connor McGovern break down pre and post snap communication and adjustments. Like it's cool to let these dudes showcase how smart they are and how well they know this game and how much of a chess match it is aside from the physical ability.
As we start to focus on this draft right now. So let me ask you this, your defensive tackle, cornerback, and edge. I mean, those Pretty much that's what everybody talks about. That is certainly what's perceived anyway as the big primary needs for the Buffalo Bills going into this draft. Say mainly even a little more defensive tackle and corner. Have you noticed through your studies to this point a bigger dip in the depth of talent in one position? Like say, you pick at 30, you pick at 56. Let's just say there's not going to be a trade. And whether it's defensive tackle or corner, doesn't matter. You pick one at 30, what's going to be there at 56 at that same position for the other position? Like if you pick a defensive tackle at 30, what's round 2 looking like at corner? If you pick a corner in round 1, what's defensive tackle looking like at 56? And there might be a best player available that you can't pass up on. But generally speaking, with those positions, have you noticed like a bigger dip in depth talent from like say the end of round 1 to late in round 2 when the Bills would be picking again?
Yeah, I think in particular with defensive tackle and corner, I think they're somewhat comparable in terms of the tiers and the roles that can kind of like be occupied, again, respective to each position. But for me, I think corner gets dicier if you don't address it in round 1. I think there's still useful corners in round 2, like there are with defensive tackle. But I think with corner at 30, you theoretically can lock yourself into like a starting rookie corner. You're good to go, kind of almost set it and forget it. At 56 and 62 in the second round, I think you just become so much more dependent, obviously, on how the board falls. So granted, like a couple got one or multiple corners could fall into your lap, but I just don't want to play that game for corner. I really don't want to play that game for defensive tackle either. But the need at corner for me is bigger right now, considering I think you need, I mean, I don't think this is unique to me. You need a corner 2. I also think you need a corner 3 because I see Dane Jackson is more like a corner 4, maybe like a low end corner 3. Granted, his knowledge of the system and how he fits kind of maybe raises him a bit to a corner 3. But I see the need for that. And so I prefer to go corner early. And then I also think at 56 and 62, there's defensive tackle depth available there to get you the roles that you need. It may not be that bona fide number 1 starter alongside Ed Oliver, but it's somebody who could be a really good third man in the rotation or a really good 4 to pair with Larry Ogunjobi. And I like that kind of value proposition and how it coalesces into one.
So it sounds to me like you approach mock drafts. If the right guy's there, you're looking corner. If all things are equal, you're probably going to take a corner first. That's not written in stone because, again, a defensive tackle you really like or an edge that you really like may be there, and maybe the couple corners that you like most could be gone. So you got to be adaptable. And with this mock draft, you might not have a choice, again, because it's a new outlet. We don't know how the picks are going to go. They may be wild. We'll see. It's going to be kind of fun. Do you have a thought about watching other Bills mock drafts? We all read them, listen to them, watch them, whatever. A mock draft or two maybe out there, or a player or so, or position that you keep seeing out there over and over. It's like this guy is getting targeted to the Bills, or this position is getting targeted to the Bills, whatever it may be, that you kind of feel like at the end of the day is going to be a myth. Like, because there's a lot going out there right now about a lot of different guys and positions.
Yes. I have one that this might be a bit hot takey.
Okay.
But I don't think, and I want to preface this by saying I do like this player and the flashes are legitimately tremendous. I don't think Kenneth Grant is this cure-all run-stopping defensive tackle that he gets billed out to be at times. I think again, this isn't crazy. He's very big, very athletic. I think he plays more towards the athletic than he does the big. I think he plays more I feel like he plays like he's 305 or 310 pounds as opposed to playing like he's 330 plus. And I think a lot of people see the size and keep thinking, oh man, like he's this big bodied run defender. He can solve all the run issues. I actually think the way people talk about Kenneth Grant as a run defender, that's how Tyreek Williams plays. I don't think that's how Kenneth Grant plays. Now, Kenneth Grant offers you more pass rush pop and the explosion and the athleticism, even though he didn't test great, which is kind of disheartening a bit. But while I do like him, I keep seeing him mentioned in conversation pieces as this kind of like a cure-all defensive tackle on the inside who can rush the QB, he can stop the run. I think he plays more towards pass rush and penetration than he does gumming up the works and anchoring in the middle. but then he does need refinement as a pass rusher. So it's not like he's this refined pass rush plan specialist on the inside. So it muddies the waters for me a bit. And I just see him talked about a lot as this, like, again, like a cure-all or the prince that was promised at defensive tackle. And I don't necessarily, while I do think he's good and I like some of what he brings, I think how he's being billed makes me think of like a wrestler who's really like 6'4", 250, and they bill him as like 6'7", 280. And it's like, no, he's not. That's not him. Like, he's still big and he's still like strong, but that's not what he's being. That's not what he's actually at.
I love any podcast where you can find a way to work wrestling into what you're talking about. That's a good one. I got one I want to run by you, and I want to get your thought on it. I think safety early in this draft for the Bills is a myth.
Okay.
I think the Bills are higher on their guys at safety than a lot of fans and maybe some media or even content creators are. And look, this is coming from somebody who loves Xavier Watts. Okay. I don't spend time watching tape. I watch YouTube. Okay. I listen to Anthony. I listen to Eric. I listen to all you guys. All right. I read as much as I possibly can. Okay. But I'm not grinding out tape. But I will say this: Notre Dame football is the one team I watch play every week. So I know Notre Dame players. I love me some Xavier Watts. I believe Mel Kiper mocked him to the Bills in round 2. And I know he's not the only one. I just feel like Sean McDermott was really talking up at the owner meetings, Taylor Rapp. Cole Bishop, they really wanted last year in the second round. Mixed bag, injuries, well, a lot of factors, you know that. But, and then they signed Forrest, they bring back Hamlin. How is safe? Do you feel like safety's any kind of real priority this year? I would like it to be, again, if they take Xavier Watts and say 56 or especially 62, I'm going to be over the moon. I just think it's a myth that they're going to take a safety in the first couple rounds. What do you think?
I think that's fair. And that's one I've wrestled with so much, like coverage and DBs in general, corners and safeties and nickel dudes. Like, it's just my favorite area to scout and talk about and evaluate and break down. And anytime I've done a mock or like thought of like taking a safety in the first 3 picks, and there's several I really like. I really like Malachi Starks. I really like Xavier Watts. I really like Andrew Makuba. But it's just like, I feel like that's more of a luxury pick than it is like a necessity pick.
Right.
And then when you talk about how I really do think they like Taylor Rapp, and I think they see him as like a key cog in that secondary. And I think they want Cole Bishop to win the job. Now, if something crazy happens and someone's there, if Watts is there at 56 or 62, I think they will. Like, I don't think they're afraid to pull the trigger on best player available, but it's all within reason of their needs. And for me, I struggle with it because I like Rapp individually. I like Cole Bishop individually. I don't like I'm questionable of Cole Bishop's fit in this defense and the time on task that it's going to need to get him up to speed in it. And I don't think the pairing of Rapp and Bishop are great together, even though that's ideally what they want. Like, Bishop, I always thought was better in and around the line of scrimmage in the box, is this like apex nickel safety off ball type of dude. Like, I feel like he would have fit better in like Belichick's Patriots defense the last several years when he was with New England, or like with the Ravens. Defenses where you don't know who's dropping where, who's covering who's doing what. He's got the athleticism to play deeper, but he doesn't see the game that great from deep right now in terms of processing. And then Taylor Rapp, he can process and see the game. He doesn't have the athleticism. Both of them are better when they get towards the line of scrimmage, but Bishop can man up on running backs and tight ends better because he's got better foot speed and athleticism. Rapp, not so much. And then if it's like, okay, if Bishop's not getting it, then it's Hamlin. I don't like the Hamlin and Rapp pairing. Derek Forrest is probably the most well-rounded safety of the group, which muddies this conversation even further. Like, I would like a better like upgrade. Like, give me Watson Rapp, or Malachi Starks and Rapp, or Watson Bishop, or Starks and Bishop, whatever. Like, I would like that, but I don't think there's as much fire to the smoke, to your point. And I also think it just really muddies up, considering you really need a friggin' corner and you really need interior defensive line. And you also kind of still need edge, like now and in the future. It's just so muddy, but I think there is some more myth to it, like you said.
Connor McGovern on your show had talked a little bit about he said, and I'm paraphrasing, and I want to also be clear, he was not critical of the Bills. He was not saying that I don't want to be
No.
back, or he doesn't think he's going to be back.
Somebody posted a clip of something like that to make it seem like he was on his outs. I forgot who did it, and I was like, man, if that wasn't one of the most cherry-picked things I've ever seen. Like,
exactly. That's not the case whatsoever.
No.
But he did talk about, they did have talks, and he did say that, it's a business and pretty much see what happens. But it didn't sound like, hey, I'm almost, I'm nearing an extension right now or anything like that. Not to say that that won't happen. And again, this ain't no James Cook situation. So let's just be real clear about that. But given the fact that maybe it does feel a little more realistic to you that this could be Connor McGovern's last season as a Buffalo Bill, that maybe he does go and get that big ass monster payday somewhere else next season. Hypothetically, could happen for sure. Last year of his deal. Does that change your thinking at all when it comes to interior offensive line, maybe a center earlier in this draft? Or do you feel with the depth that they have right now already with Anderson, with the fifth rounder they got from Georgia last year, that development is probably who would, be next in line? Or do you say, you know what, third, fourth, fifth round, something like that, I'm going to take a good solid look at an interior guy or two?
I think just for me personally, like draft philosophy, I feel like you should draft an offensive lineman every year. Like you can never have enough dudes in the trenches on both sides of the ball, corners and then trenches, defensively and offensively. You can never go wrong, like taking one every single year. I don't care if it's round 7, round 1, whatever. Like granted, depends on the need, but I already am kind of subscribing to that philosophy. And then you've got David Edwards, who's a UFA next year. McGovern's a UFA next year. So even just off of Edwards alone, is Edwards coming back? If not, is Alec Anderson taking his spot? So then, okay, say Anderson does, you still need someone to fill the Anderson spot. If McGovern goes, is Van Pran Granger ready to take his spot? Okay, then who takes SVPG's spot as that backup? Like either way, however you slice it, I do think, and you know what's funny too? One of my early mocks in like early March, I took interior offensive line. And then another one, I took a tackle. And all these people yelling at me for taking offensive line. Why would you take any offensive line? This whole line is locked up. We don't need anything. The 5 starters are great. And I was just like, because dudes might not be under contract next year at this point. So, and then, him saying that a little bit kind of furthered that notion. I don't think it necessarily makes it a day 1 or day 2 priority, but maybe you start looking at interior offensive line with one of those, picks in the 4th round in terms of, instead of just waiting to later day 3, maybe it's more of an early priority day 3 spot. But again, they are working on that extension. We'll see if they can meet, but you can never have enough O-line in the building.
A lot of people, a lot of Bills fans, a lot of fans around the NFL period, no matter what team you root for, we forget sometimes that they're drafted for the future as much as they are for the present. Maybe the first round, you expect that guy to come in, plug in and start, hopefully anyway. But a lot of these picks, it's more about developing in the future. Brandon Beane's job and his staff is to see next year and 2 years down the road when he's making a lot of these selections. Last question about a player before we get into this mock. I want your thoughts on a specific guy. Shavon Revel, the corner, likely a top 20 pick before he got hurt towards ACL. Now it feels to me, depending on who I read, what day of the week it is, what mock I look at, this guy could be going in the later second half of the first round, all the way through the third round. Like where do you see him at right now? Is talent, but also the fact, again, he's coming off a major knee injury.
For me individually, I'll be finalizing all my positional rankings going forward, but he's probably going to slot in as like corner 5 for me. And I have a hard time seeing him being there for the Bills in round 2. I do think I do have certain reservations and some reservations around specific aspects of his game. Him being just kind of a high cut player, not a lot of hip sync, and how that can kind of let guys create separation against him. How that makes, he's a good press man corner, but being more of a soft shoe mirroring type of press corner is difficult given his being high cut and how he's built from the lower body. But then he's got the upper body strength and length and technique to kind of mitigate that. So while I do have some reservations around specific aspects of his game, his length, his frame, his play style all translates to the NFL and should make him a decently coveted player. And then you add in how good the 2023 tape was, and even his 2024 tape before he got hurt, you want to see him against that level of competition dominating, and he was for the most part. There's some deep ball tracking issues, but he's still in phase almost every single step of the way. And the injury mucks it up a bit, but I think he goes somewhere between middle to late round 1 to early to mid round 2. Like, so roughly like pick 20 to 45, I feel like is where he goes. And I could see him creeping up into round 1 just because of that length. And we'll see, he hasn't been able to test a ton because of the injury, but that stride and how he plays on tape, I just feel like some team's going to bet on the traits plus some good tape that he's had. And, provided the medical all checks out.
One of my favorite things about doing mock drafts is going back and looking at mock drafts a year, 2 years later down the road. I'm going to pull this up. This was Anthony on the show last year during our Bills mock draft, and this is what he came up with. And I'll tell you this right now, folks. Let me pull up the right button here. Hold on so we can both see it. I'll tell you right now, I bet you 85 to 90%, maybe more, of Bills fans, if they said, do you want Brandon Beane's draft from last year or do you want Anthony Prohaska's draft from last year? I'd be willing to bet that 90% would have taken Anthony's draft. Now, a lot of people are listening to this and not watching, so we'll run through this real quick. Last year, we traded down and you pulled the trigger, and we traded down with Washington and you got Xavier Worthy with the first pick. Which, come on, I mean, that would have been a great pick for the Bills. Yeah. Also, Xavier in our mock in the second round, you got Xavier Legette. Carolina ended up getting him. What was it? The last pick of the first, I believe they got him. It was the last pick of the first.
Man, yeah, they were one of the teams the Bills. Right, with all the Bills trade backs. Yeah, confused. Yeah, the last pick. Yeah, because it was Worthy and then Legette. They went back to back because the Bills traded out at both.
Yeah, right. So, all right. So you get Worthy, you get Legette. Wide receiver position definitely redefined for the Bills. Now, this one still needs to play out. Not a great first year for him. Michael Hall, we took in the third round. He had an off-field, I think it was domestic charges. He missed some games. And then he also missed 5 games with a knee injury. Got hurt at the end of the year. I read that he's going to be out for off-season activities, but should be back for training camp. Not a good first year, but you know what? Dwayne Carter, a third-round pick, not a great first year for him either as well. So Christian Jones, we took in round 4, an offensive tackle by Arizona. He went in the 5th round in the real draft. A reserve. He did start week 18, so, who knows with him. Corner Kalen Carson, and we took in the 4th. Dallas took him in the 5th. Bought a shoulder injury this season, so he was put on IR. Again, who knows about that? This is the one, though. Malik Mustafa, the safety. You took him in the 5th, man. San Francisco took him in the 4th. Yeah. A promising. Is it fair to say he is a promising safety right now with San Francisco? I like him a hell of a lot, man.
He looked really good as a rookie. I know he's got that one blemish where Mahomes went through him for a score in the low red zone. But, he started flashing right from game 1 in the preseason. He was a rookie I kept my eye on. I really liked his game then. I still really like his game now. And he's fitting in really nice with San Francisco.
Yep. We took Zach Zinter in the 5th. Cleveland took him in the 3rd in the real draft. Didn't play. He was a stash away. He was a red shirt because he broke his tibia and his fibula in 2023 at Michigan. Another one that you'd have to let play out. But again, man, I'd really like to have him on this roster. Yeah. Jalen Harrell from, I think it was from Michigan in the 5th round. He went to the Titans in the 7th. Special teams guy, played some on defense. And then Rasheen Ali in the 7th. Baltimore took him in the 5th. Not a factor, didn't really play last year. Buried behind a few running backs, one of them by the name of Derrick Henry. Worthy, Legette, and Mustafa right there, man. Give me that all day. Looking back now, this is a full year later. This is a pretty goddamn solid mock draft, ain't it, Anthony?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to comment on my own thing and be like, yeah, it was super solid. But no, still looking back on it a year away, I still like it. I like what Worthy did as a rookie. I like what Legette did as a rookie. I feel like I still feel Hall would have been a better fit stylistically with the Bills than with the Browns. That pick still confused me kind of when it happened on game day. Jones is still wait and see. Like you said, Carson banged up. Mustafa looks sweet as a rookie. I liked Mustafa more than Cole Bishop. So I would, if I could swap the two out, I would. And Zinter, like you said, Zinter was a pure stash, like similar to kind of what a couple years ago, Andrew Voorhees the offensive lineman from USC who like tore his ACL in that offseason. He was a guy who I kept taking all day. I was like, stash him and see what he can be for 2024. And then he started for the Ravens in 2024. Unfortunately, got hurt again. But yeah, considering where we took a lot of these guys and what we did, I think there's 3 hits. I think you could make a case that could be bumped to like 3.5 or 4. But even just 3, like I think that's a winning class again, but I'm probably biased because we did this.
No, you're right. And look, the Bills, they might have the 2 hits for sure. I mean, not for sure, but they could realistically have 2 very good hits still. Keon Coleman, the book's not written on him yet. It's been 1 year. Ditto for Cole Bishop. Dwayne Carter still got a long way to go, but again, you never know. Stranger things have happened. I could have sat here after Terrell Bernard's rookie season and said, did they really take a middle linebacker, a useless, undersized middle linebacker in the 3rd round? Look at he's garbage after 1 year. Look at him now. You know what I mean? So you never know. Your boy Dave last week from Cover One, just tell you the first 3 picks. I don't have them all in front of me, but I know he went Trey Amos in the 1st round. Then he went with edge rusher Jared Ivey in the 2nd round. The peanut gallery booed that one.
Oh, man, that's funny.
And then an interior defensive lineman, I think it was from Indiana.
CJ West.
He took CJ West because we traded back, or we moved up. My bad. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. He did take him in the 2nd round.
Okay.
Mixed bag, not very well received. Again, who gives a shit? And Mark, we did package 2 fourths, and we moved up to the late 3rd, and we got Isaiah Bond.
Okay.
Like that. Flashy guy, good speed. So anyway, that was Dave's. Like I said, trades are going to be on the table. Let me get to our mock window here.
I'm stressing.
And well, here's how we'll do it. We'll take a little more time to like the first. We'll go through the first 15, then I'll stop it just to take a little bit of a look. Is there any player that you're like, you're going to go all in for? Oh, let me say this too, Ant, for everybody who's listening to the show too. We're doing this as an exercise. We're going to try to get the best team. And Anthony is ultimately the GM. He's making the picks. We're going to get the best team that we can. That's practical. Anthony is not just going to make, like, he could sit there and give away next year's draft to get move up and down all over the place here using next year's first, next year's second, things like that. That's not practical. We're not doing it to make fans go, yay, this is a great mock. Hopefully it works out that way. Yeah. But again, we're going to look at this a year from now and see how we did. So if you trade, picks from next year, you ain't going to have those picks when we do them.
Right.
You might not be on the show next year because we won't have a mock draft.
Because I sold the farm for this one.
You sold the farm for this one. Is there anybody like in that top, 15 to 18 where you're talking it's going to cost you a first and a second and maybe more, or maybe a first and next year's first? Is there anyone that you're like, I really considering that, or is it very doubtful?
It's doubtful for me just because of what I think the earliest I would, or the most I would consider trading up, however you want to verbalize it, would be kind of like in the early to mid 20s, depending on who would fall. But I just, given the Bills' needs, given the questions also too, to kind of, let me backtrack a minute. This is a draft where I don't think you want to be in like the 10s to the 20s. Like there's not a lot of like round one straight up caliber dudes. Like all the value in this draft is like from 20 to 65. Like round 2 and round 3 is the sweet spot. There's a lot of like B to B plus guys in this draft. And because of that, I can sit and get a B plus guy, I think, at the back end of round 1. But if somebody who I think is more of an A minus starts to creep a little bit, or that's a higher tier of a B plus, I'd consider it. But yeah, probably not at the top 20, more into the low to mid 20s, depending on how the board fell.
All right, let's get this started. We'll let it run and we'll stop it. We'll go over a couple of the key guys. I'm going to stop it when it gets to pick 18 for a reason.
More quarterbacks.
All right, so Seattle would be on the clock. All right, so we went through the first, just for people listening, and we're not going to go pick by pick, but people like to know where the top of the draft is, at least anyway. So Ward goes first, Travis Hunter second, Shador Sanders at the Giants third, Carter fourth. That's your Will Johnson all the way up to 5. He was the 5th pick by Jacksonville. That's pretty surprising. All right, so nothing crazy here. Nothing I would say that shocking, I should say. All right, here's why I asked you this, okay? If you were to, hypothetically, you wanted to move up from 30 to 18, and you just said from 10 to 20 is not the good spot to be in. But if you go by the draft value chart, and if we're going to honor that, 18, this is where you're giving up your first in say, 56. Like you're giving up, you'd still have 62, but you're giving up 30 and 56 if you wanted to get to the spot. And just so you know, because again, this is literally our first time together ever using this. I could go to players.
I
So I
love
can
this
go
feature.
here. So, you know, if there's like, this is the top board, this is the big board overall, and you can also go positionally. For people listening who may be interested in pick 18, if you're talking first and second overall, you got guys like Mike Green's on the board, Matthew Golden, if you love the receiver, if you love the upside of Walter Nolan, he's there. You talked about Kenneth Grant. I don't think you're going to move up from after what I heard from you today. Starks, Harmon, there's guys there, but is there anybody there you look at and you're like, you know what? I'm willing to give up my second round pick to go get one of these. Possibly.
If there wasn't the off the field stuff, Mike Green, I would strongly consider that for the edge from Marshall. Just motor, everything on the field is what you want to see. Like the motor, the juice, the violence. He plays the run. He's got pass rush plan and repertoire. The level of competition wasn't great being at Marshall, but then he goes up against Ohio State and he's making splash plays and he's flashing there, has arguably like one of the best pass rush reps in the entire season with his spin move on their right tackle and then gets in for the sack. The off the field stuff is the reason I wouldn't. So for the guys that are available now, it would be Mike Green. A couple guys who went before, if Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia, was here, I would consider it. And if Jahdae Barron, and then Jahdae Barron, who went right after him to the Dolphins, which would kill me in real life because I really love Barron. I would consider Barron as well, but I'd rather sit and get one of the corners. I think I could get at 30 rather than trade up there for Barron. But Michael Williams just fits what the Bills like at edge. And I think his floor is just a really good edge too, who's going to be great against the run and can also compress the pocket, which I know that doesn't sound sexy to everybody, but to me, his comp for me is kind of essentially Greg Rousseau. And if I could get another Greg Rousseau right now, I would do that. Let's
go to the first and fourth round territory per the value chart, which would be around 25, 26, 27. That's where if the Bills, if you're going by the value chart, which may end up meaning nothing in real life, but you're looking at probably giving up pick 109 to move up to
Don't tell me this means nothing. I'm so stressed right now. Like I'm just sweating.
So we'll let this go for a couple. Mike Green went to Seattle with the next pick.
That tracks.
All right, let's go to the Rams. All right, so
oh my God, this is shaping up nice. I like this.
All right, so let's recap what we just missed here. Anything of Walter Nolan went 20 to Denver. Mike Green, like we said, went 18 to
Jackson Dart.
Seattle. Golden went 22 to the Chargers. I know there's a lot of Bills fans that like talking about him as a receiver. Kenneth Grant, who you talked about, wouldn't be an option for the Bills in this mock because he goes 25 to the Houston Texans. All right, so the Vegas Raiders would be on the clock here at 27. The Bills, you still got 3 picks before the Bills are on the clock. You want to take a look back here to the BPAs. Starks is there. Harmon's there. I'm not sure what other guys you may be high on in the spot. And there's a couple other pass rushers there as well. You've talked about corner. There's Thomas, Amos, Revel still there. Morrison. Maxwell Hairston, who whether you take him or not, I do want to ask you a question about him. Okay. I was asked a good question earlier. But anyway, that's pretty much your big board. And like I said, you're looking at probably giving up pick 109 if you wanted to, or at this point, you're looking at this big board and are you like, you know what? I like my chances staying where we're at.
I absolutely love my chances. I will foreshadow this a bit, and I am considering trading up in round 2 to secure something else that I want to secure. But right now I feel very good with how the board has fallen. And I mean, it's nice seeing, Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, went. Jackson Dart went for us, which is nice. Josh Simmons went, the tackle from Ohio State. And then Nick Emmanwori went, safety from South Carolina. So it's like these players in positions that I don't think the Bills need or would prioritize have this has fallen nicely. And so one of the guys who I really personally want and think would benefit this team are going to be available there at 30. So I'm very cool to just sit and wait right now.
All right. That sounds good. And to your point, if you're a Bills fan and you're really liking a few guys, you want as many tackles, offensive tackles going off the board as possible. Yep. And of course, quarterbacks as well. All right. So 3 picks and the Bills are going to be on the clock. We'll run the 3, then we'll get to 30. All right,
Oh, damn,
so
Harmon just went.
let's review. Let's see what we missed here.
Oh, so
Uh,
close.
were you talking about the edge rusher from
No,
Boston
well, I
College?
do like Donovan Ezaraku. But
Derek Harmon
yeah,
goes one
Harmon.
pick. Derek Harmon goes one pick to the Washington Commanders before the Bills.
So close.
Now let me ask you a question, because it was Harmon the guy you were talking about?
He was one of
Okay,
three players that I would prop up here at 30.
now
Well,
if we were doing this slowly, and we were going to make this a 3-hour on the air mock, and we went pick by pick, when you get to like 28 or 29, even one at a time, you're like, you know what, maybe I might want to do this now because it's going to cost me less. Like, say if you like Derek Harmon and Washington's on the clock 29, you're probably trying to move up one to go get him. What's going to cost you a fourth and a fifth swap, something along those lines. But anyway, this is the hand we were dealt. So Harmon's off the board.
Yes.
Zaraku's off the board. And we'll go look now. We'll look at best players available if you want to look by positions, whatever you want to do here. And ultimately, like I said, you're the one who's going to be pulling the trigger on these, because you're the one I'll be making fun of or giving props to a year from now.
Fair. Let me just go throw up real quick. And then can you scroll down a little bit? Okay, there. I want to see where Tyreek Williams is on this thing. Okay, so to kind of give you a peek into my mind.
Okay.
My hope prior to this mock, just general philosophy, my hope at 30 is one of the 3/4 following players. Trey Amos, corner from Mississippi. Derek Harmon, interior defensive line from Oregon. Tyreek Williams, interior defensive line from Ohio State. And then Shavon Revel, who we talked about a bit earlier. I have Amos ahead of Revel, but I would not be opposed to taking him here at 30 in any way, shape, or form. I really love Trey Amos. I've been on him since the week before the combine. Just his ability to play press man, to stay in phase through a combination of length and good footwork, the ability to pass off and collect in zone coverage in a multitude of forms. He can play man, he can play zone. He's got good eyes, good processing. He can play match coverage. He can come up and play the run. He ticks so many boxes. One of my big questions for him was just long speed and change of direction. The testing didn't really answer the change of direction stuff, but he ran a 4.43 at the combine, which kind of made me think he's just more of a smooth strider than he is slower and long speed. Part of me doesn't want to take him because Tilt took him last week, and I don't want to do like the same kind of content week after week.
No, pretend.
But,
listen, no mock before you and no mock after you is going to matter. This is the real thing in our world right now anyway.
Okay, so here's what my thought is right now, what I want to do. Okay. I want to take Trey Amos here at 30.
Okay.
And I want to find a way to trade up in round 2 so that we can get Tyreek Williams, the defensive tackle from Ohio State.
Okay. Because I have kind of a list in front of me. Okay. Now, if you're talking about trading a second round or to move up in the second round, 56 and 62. Okay. So the Bills right now have currently, and this is per the updated draft value chart. We're going to pull the trigger right in a second on Amos. But before we do that, if you were to trade 56 and 62, all right, so both picks near the end, that's getting you up. You're going to be picking again, like 1 or 2 picks from now. You should be able to. So you're talking very early 30s if you were to give up both 2s. Now you could try. The Bills unfortunately don't have a 3.
Yes.
So I don't know how much 2 and 4s get you, stuff like that. But let's
can we see real quick? Can we look at defensive? Can you pull up just defensive line real quick?
Yep. Edge or interior, my bad.
Interior, please. Sorry. Okay.
Hold on. I'm in
unclick edge. There you go. Okay. So yeah, Tyreek is the next dude up. Son of a. See, I also, I forgot. Okay. I also really like Darius Alexander. I wouldn't be opposed if the Bills took Alexander at 30. I think second round is more fit for him. But I really like Alexander. I also like Alfred Collins. He just doesn't give you anything from a pass rush perspective. Tyreek doesn't really either, but he gives you a bit more athleticism to go with the run-stopping plugger type of frame and can compress the pocket a little bit with some explosion off the line, but he's the next interior guy up. Go back to, sorry, I hate like
this is how we do it, man. This is the exercise. This is the game. This is the gig.
Go back to where it shows like we're gonna pick, and then it shows like all the teams that come after us.
Okay, so we're going to the draft.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I
Before
want to
you got
see who.
you got
Okay,
Kansas City, Philly, Cleveland, Giants, Tennessee
okay.
would be in the next
Kansas City, I don't think takes defensive line. Philly, I don't think takes defensive line. Cleveland, I don't think takes defensive line. The Giants, I don't think. Tennessee won't. Jacksonville could. Scroll past Jacksonville, if you don't mind.
Vegas,
Vegas, no.
New
Well,
England.
New England, no. Chicago, okay. Oh, so now I got to play the game of how much do we want to trade up for Tyreek, or do I want to play the waiting game and see when Tyreek Williams goes and then take Darius Alexander after that?
We could do that. We could do it. So
Oh.
are we pretty much locked in on taking Amos and with this pick here at 30?
Yeah, I'm 1,000%. I try to play these games of taking like other guys. And again, there are several players that I would be happy with at pick 30, but I've been on the Amos at pick 30 to the Bills for a very long time, and I refuse to get off at this point.
All right, we'll go one by one for this part. Like I said, we'll
Okay,
let it
thank you.
fly at certain parts of the draft, but because this is important, we'll try to let it go. All right, it's going two before I could even stop it. But anyway, no harm there.
Okay.
So Kansas City took an offensive tackle.
Connerly, yep.
Booker
Philly took Booker. That'd be a good fit in real life, actually.
So Cleveland, Starks goes 34 to the Giants. Defensive tackles are still there.
Okay.
Vegas is on the clock at 37.
Okay, so here's my
Revel goes 38 to the New England Patriots.
Nice. Oh, wait, what? Really? So they're gonna do Revel, Christian Gonzalez, and Carlton Davis, which is interesting. Actually, that's a sweet corner room, though. So here's my thought now, right? Here's my thought of what I'm playing in my head.
Okay.
I do want Tyreek a lot. Like, and just again, he's one of the guys that I would be fine with at 30 as well. Now I'm kind of playing the game of just waiting until I'm assuming in this because he's rated ahead of Alexander. I'm assuming Tyreek will go ahead of Alexander. My thought is as soon as that happens,
you got to go
we
get
trade up to go get Alexander because I just don't think. But we could also see what defensive tackles are still on the board at that point. So I'm kind of just letting it roll and see how much it bleeds out. I want Tyreek Williams.
Well, there it is right there. He goes the next pick, 39. Tyreek Williams goes to the Chicago Bears. And then Zaire Thomas goes 40 to the Saints. The Bears are happen to be on the clock again. Now it's at 41. Well, they're not going to take a defensive tackle here, but I'm scared to hit this button because then the Jets are up and
oh man,
it's kind of stops.
But there's also some other defensive tackles in between.
Landon Jackson goes 41. By the way, heard his name associated with the Bills a lot. He goes 41 to the Bears.
He's I mean, just from his play style, like as a compression, long arm usage type of dude, a guy who can reduce down, plays his butt off. Like there's a rep against Tennessee that I posted maybe like several weeks ago where he rushes through the right tackle. The right tackle for Tennessee grabs his face mask and turns his whole helmet sideways, and it doesn't even phase Landon Jackson. He just keeps running through it, and he gets the sack. Like, he was like, cool, rip my head off. I don't care. I'm going to get the QB. Like, just stylistically in how he plays, he fits the Bills. He's an edge version, kind of not the same mold, but he's high cut the way Shavon Revel is high cut. And high cut dudes scare me. I would prefer a little more dip and bend at the edge position, but I could see why the Bills like him given his play style and their philosophy at edge.
So him and Williams both go to the Chicago Bears. Now, this is a position, let's say the Jets at 42, where I feel like it would be acceptable, and I don't even know if it would accept it. And by the way, this app from when I messed around earlier today, if the value doesn't match or isn't close, it's not going to let you make the trade straight up. So it's not going to let you bullshit. I think you may be able to force a trade.
So it's not going to let me do like 56 and both 6s and both 7s and just spam them with crap.
But I would feel like an opportunity, if there's a defensive tackle you really like, and this is a team that needs a defensive tackle, right? They need another defensive tackle. Moving up from 56 to 42 and giving up a third next year, I think that's practical. Like I said, I don't want to get unrealistic. I think something like that could be practical. Maybe you disagree. I don't know I don't even know if that would get it done anyway, but I don't know. What are you thinking? Do you want to let it play out? Whatever you want to do.
Go to the players available.
Players available and go to the
defensive line. Yep. All right. So we got Sanders, Alexander, Collins, Farmer's also a possibility. So my real cutoff I would be okay. Farmer, I have more of a late 3 on.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he's a fit, even though I don't love him. But that would just be kind of a reach. And then we're playing. Man, I'm going to throw up.
I'm starting to see why some of these mock drafts are taking Xavier Watts because he could be there potentially at 56.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, go back to the team selection page. I think Sanders will go before Alexander. So let's
we're
let it
gonna wait.
go a little bit. As
We'll
soon
wait
as
for
Sanders
Sanders.
goes, we're pulling the trigger.
And
Okay.
almost got I'm scared. You're scared to make the wrong pick. I'm scared to not be able to hit the right button. All right, to recap, Benjamin Morrison, we didn't really talk much about him. Notre Dame corner. Again, another guy I really liked. He goes 42 to the New York Jets. Maxwell Hairston, real quick question here. I don't want to get off the beaten path here, but I was asked this by someone on Twitter, and I said I would ask you. A lot of skills, speed, ball playing. Is his tackling an issue, though? Like, is the book on him that he's not a very good tackler?
Yeah, he's not. And here's an important thing. This is a different but a similar point that I made about Asante Samuel Jr. Maxwell Harrison's a poor tackler, but he's a willing tackler. You can still work with that. You can be coached up. The biggest thing with his tackling, and I pulled up my evaluation notes on him now, it's his angles and decisions in run support as far as being a run fit player and as a force player are questionable at times. Add that in with being of a smaller frame and stature, and it just puts him at a disadvantage at times. However, there's also reps of him fitting the run against running backs and forcing fumbles in like the B gap and the C gap. So he is a willing tackler. He can tackle wide receivers. If somebody catches something quick underneath, he can come up and make that tackle. But if you look at just how he's built and what his frame is, and let me pull up this just for some folks. Yeah. So 8th percentile for weight, 32nd percentile for arm length, 5'11 and 1/4, 183 pounds. Some of it is just, and then the arm length, 31 inches, which is 32nd percentile. Some of it's just a frame issue and how he's built. And then if you add in poor angles, that makes it even worse. But he is willing. And I do think if you have the mentality and the willingness to tackle, you can be coached up some. I don't think he's ever going to become a plus tackler just because of how he's built. But I think you can mitigate it enough that you can benefit from the speed, the recovery ability, the juice, the twitch, and the feet that he has as a coverage guy. There are some issues with him kind of reading route distributions and playing in zone. But again, he's got the speed and the juice to kind of make up for it. My biggest thing, the last piece on him, I just think some of the off the field stuff might take him off the Bills board completely. But from an on the tape perspective, there's good tape. There's, good ability and traits there, and even some technical stuff with how he's able to collect routes in zone coverage and have some good spatial awareness as well.
TJ Sanders goes 46 to the Atlanta Falcons. Trayvon Henderson, running back, in the very next pick to Arizona. All right, so Miami's on the board at 48, Cincinnati at 49. Yeah. It feels like one of these two teams are definitely going to take a defensive tackle.
Absolutely. So we're trading up.
I was going to say, I feel like this would be a spot. Do you want to see if 109 and 56 can get it done? I mean, that.
What are the go-to?
Go to 132 first.
Oh, yeah, 132. Yeah, let's try from the lowest end of the spectrum. I always want to throw.
Yeah, yep. So, all right, so we're trying to get 48. We're going to give up 56, and we're going to try 132.
Oh, hold on. Slightly below market, but still possible. Interesting. Because what I would also like, okay, unclick 56 and 132 and do 62 and 109.
62 and 109.
Okay, so it's kind of the same thing. All right, so let's do 56 and 132.
56, 132.
Yeah.
Give it a ride, see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Trade rejected.
Screw you, Miami.
Over 5 points, too, man. Wow.
That's because they're petty. I'd be petty too if I kept getting my ass kicked in the division.
So maybe. So let's
Sorry, I'm
try
angry.
this. Let's try this again.
Can we add another pick?
Yeah. So let's say we go 56,
132,
132, and we had to add like 5 points. It said.
Can we add another pick from this year?
We could add a 5th rounder. I mean, we got 10 picks. I don't think 10 guys are making this roster.
Wasn't that right side is the 2026 draft, right?
Oh yeah, it is. My bad.
You're good. So let's go to add pick 177 from round 6. That's 7 points.
Yep. That should do it. All right. Let's see. Proposed. Trey rejected. Why?
Oh, Miami dog. Yo. Oh.
Maybe they hate us.
Oh, their reason is we have our eye on a specific player at this
Is that
position.
what it said?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's let. All right. Well, we try. Miami won't do it. Then we'll try to stop. I'll try to stop.
Can we try another trade again? Oh, motherfucker! Wait, are we only allowed 2 trade opportunities?
I don't know.
Again, I wanted you to try another trade. Oh, God damn it.
Again, we just got rattled in real time. Let's pretend, for the sake of realism with the mock, that we're in the war room. We tried so hard, and Miami said, you know what? Fuck off. You're the Bills. I'd rather die than trade with you. And we want Darius Alexander at this spot, and they take him. So there was nothing we could do about it in this world. Again, it kind of sucks. It's going to make the mock look not quite as sexy as we would hope. But
no, that's fine. So I'm booking a flight to Miami, and I'm burning their facilities to the ground. An eye for an eye. Hammurabi's code. You took Darius Alexander. I burn your stadium to the ground. All right, so now
we were in the plus on that too. By the way,
we were in the plus, and that's why I was thinking I was going to try and think of if we sent another pick their way. All right, let's go to players again. Man, Miami.
I still feel like Cincinnati, if we do nothing, is definitely going to be a threat to take him. So
I feel like they're going to take Collins, and then I'm sitting there probably having to take someone like all right, unclick defensive line, go to edge. JTT. Okay.
Jack Sawyer, for the people who are listening, Jordan Birch.
What's interesting, this is also kind of like real life stuff too. The round 2 picks for the Bills are so interesting because they don't have the round 3 picks.
Yeah.
Round 2 becomes a spot for like edge where maybe you reach a little bit for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's more of a middle or late round 3 guy, but you're not going to have that pick. So it's either, okay, do we take them at 62 or do we hope they fall to 109?
Yep.
And I think that is such like a risky proposition. Part of me, for the sake of the mock, I feel like we have to trade up for Alfred Collins, but I just don't want to because I don't think he has enough pass rush pop to warrant a trade up for that spot. He's got a really good stack and shed. He's a really good interior run defender, and makes a big difference in that regard. I just don't think, because there's no pass rush juice there, I'm not comfortable trading up that much for him. But I feel like Cincinnati is going to take him right now.
Probably. Do you want to find out?
Hold on. Go past Cincinnati. We've got Seattle, Denver, Seattle,
Tennessee, Green Bay, Chargers, and then the Bills.
He's not getting to us. He's going to get grabbed at some point. Oh, man.
I bet you the trade that Miami rejected, the same trade would be accepted by the Bengals. I wonder if they have it coded in there that maybe divisional rivals makes it harder.
Well, their reason was they had an eye on a specific player. So I thought we would have just had to like probably sent them some more capital. Yeah. Go back to players one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Once we get to like 5, that's when we're just going to let it roll and we're just going to examine who the best players are.
Go to defensive line again. You see the board. I don't want Norman Lott. I definitely don't want Deion Walker. I don't want Shamar. CJ West is intriguing, but I mean, is he still going to? I do like Jamari Caldwell as well.
Tough spot to be in here.
Now I kind of just want to let it ride and see if we can get Jamari Caldwell in round 4.
Good. Take that shot. So are we gonna let it go to?
I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to trade because you're whatever role you are here in our GM situation here? Do you want to trade him here?
It depends to me. I guess what I would ask you, because you're the GM, but you're also the head scout, is how much more do you like Collins than these other defensive tackles? Because I think defensive tackle is a clear and present need for the Buffalo Bills. And if you're taking if you think Collins could come in and play as a rookie, then I think you want to go get him. If you think him and any of these other guys is just going to be a 30 to 35% rotational guy for now, then you're probably rolling the dice and seeing what you can get in round 4, or maybe trying to move up
And
into round 3.
so here's my answer. Because Collins is more of a like Tyreek Williams is more of an early down run defender. But again, because he's got some he's got some explosion to him, he can
Mhm.
compress the pocket a little bit. You can get some pressures out of Tyreek Williams, right? They're not going to be the cleanest or prettiest, but
Right,
he's a run first defender that can offer you something as a pass rusher. It's more like, I don't know,
right.
65-35 run, right?
Mhm.
Collins is like 90-10 run at best from a pass perspective. So I see him as more of a rotational body. I see him as being more of the fourth man in the rotation, which is still very valuable with how much you're going to rotate, but he doesn't offer enough pass rush juice for me to really be like a true, in the Bills system and scheme, a true starter, which is why I kind of just want to wait till Jamari Caldwell. But then if we don't get him and we don't get a defensive tackle, I don't want to hear everybody yelling at us because we didn't get defensive tackle.
Right. It's a tough dilemma to be in. So again, what I love about mocks is learning things and playing out scenarios. And I think the headline in tomorrow's newspaper on the Talking Buffalo Bills mock draft version number 2 is going to be the Bills were unable to get up and get Darius Alexander in round 2. I think that's going to be
That's
the
a good one.
headline. Do they reel from there? I would say at this point, it seems to me you don't love any defensive tackle enough to trade up. Let's just go to
Yeah,
56 and see what's going to be
there you go.
on
Do
the
it.
board. If you like one of those at 56, maybe an edge. Hell, maybe a receiver,
Yeah,
or
we'll
the
let 'em
guy
go.
that I've been talking about before the started here, Watts. Let's see what happens here. All right, so well, he's gone. So the
Thanks a
Bills are
lot,
going to be on the
Seattle.
clock here now. All right, let's go back to the draft. So the Bills are on the clock. So since we talked last, for the listeners of the show, Alfred Collins went pick 52 to the Seattle Seahawks. Jack Sawyer went 53 to
Uh,
Tennessee. Princely went one pick before the Bills. Good, pretty a guy I hear a lot about, edge rusher from
mm,
Mississippi. Anyway, he goes 55. All right, so here we go.
Princely Uman Mielen. Fun
Yeah, I
name to
think that's
say.
the last name. So to me, he's always going to be Princely for the rest of his
That's
career.
fair.
All right, so here we go. So this is the overall look at the big board. Ironically, the guy that we talked about at the beginning of the show, that I asked you about anyway, Xavier Watts.
I really want to take Xavier Watts.
Hey, you're the GM, buddy. You can. So that's your top safety out there. There's a couple edge guys that you've spoken of in
Go
terms of
to safety.
Xavier Watts, top name up there.
Kuba. Okay, so go to edge. Hmm.
Kid from Ohio State he's
Yeah,
the highest one up there.
I like. Just going off of these like names, I like JTT from Ohio State.
Mhm.
Braden Swinson does some fun stuff. I'd be cool with Swinson. And right now, I'm really looking, and I understand where they're ranked, here on their board. But right now, I'm looking at Birch does some fun things as well. I really like Josiah Stewart from Michigan. I just don't see part of this also too, right? Like I don't want to just pick guys that I want. I'm trying to keep it realistic. Josiah Stewart just doesn't fit the Bills archetype at edge. And as
Mhm.
much as I like him, I don't necessarily see him being a guy that they're going to dive into just because shorter arms, smaller frame, plays like a velociraptor off the edge against the run and the pass. It's awesome, but I just don't think he's an archetype fit. JTT is, Swinson is, and Oluwafemi Oladejo is, and I like JTT, I like Oladejo, and I'm cool with Swinson. Now, here's my thing. I feel so now what I'm weighing in my head is
Now we're gonna be on the clock, everyone listening again at 62, and this is pick
yes.
56.
So now what I'm playing with in my head is if we take Xavier Watts right now,
Mhm.
am I cool with whatever of those three edges I'm left with at pick 62?
Mhm.
I do think Oladejo is more of a third round guy, like a late 3 into the early 4, but I don't think he's going to be there at round 4 when the Bills pick. So Oladejo is a great example, right? If you want him, you got to reach for him at 62 because I don't think you're going to get him at pick 109.
Mhm.
And so now my thought is,
We also have an opportunity, perhaps we did this last week the way it worked out. If you were to package 109 and 132, 2 4s, and you wanted to get into the late third, that's on the table as well,
copy.
possibly.
I'm going to take I'm going to do the smart and prudent thing. Let's take JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. Just fits what the Bills do. I like him as a player, but I also think he fits what the Bills do. Power rusher, compression type of guy, likes to win first touch, go speed to power. He's got some athleticism that he can drop into coverage a bit and do some. Oh, Watts went right at 60.
I was really hoping that Xavier Watts was going to be there because
So
holy
close.
shit, would you have had a dilemma? Yeah, he goes 60 to the Detroit Lions. All right, so here you go. You got your edge guy with your first pick in round 2. We'll go back to players. Obviously, I feel like Watts was definitely going to be your pick if he would have been
1,000%.
there.
1,000%.
Let's take a real quick look here because we haven't really talked about this at all throughout this episode so far. Let's see wide receiver wise what's out there. Now, this might be too early for any of these guys, but what do you see out there? According to this, Jaden Higgins, Jack Beck is up, Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
Some decent names, man. I know Kyle Williams is lurking later on. Torrey Horton's
There's some fun names here. I just don't.
There's no one you would consider at pick 62.
Not right now. I want them to add a receiver. I do think they still need more of a vertical stretch and speed element in the wide receiver room. I know some people are leaning into the Josh Palmer aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's this burner and separator and field stretcher. He can win downfield, but it's more due to scheme or deception in the route. He's got some burst from like 1 to 10 yards or 0 to 10, but he's not a guy who like, oh man, watch him open up and separate. Like he's not that type of guy. So I would like to add some speed. I just don't think right now I'm not in favor of that.
Is there any defensive tackle here? Because we're at 62. Next time we're scheduled to pick is going to be 109. I know you mentioned Caldwell. That's unknown whether he would get to 109. Again, you have a possibility to trade up, but that's only going to get you so far. So some of these guys, it may be, we might have to reach at some point somewhere is what I'm saying for a guy that maybe you weren't looking to take as early just because of the gap that the Bills will have coming up in the real draft.
Yeah. Go to safety again. Man.
I like the fact that this got hard. I like the fact that we had a plan and just even though it didn't happen, but we'll just say, Alexander and Miami just refused to trade. We couldn't get up. Let's just pretend we tried to. That was your strategy.
I want to put that out there for everyone. I wanted Darius Alexander. That was the plan.
I will make sure that's in the promo that Anthony wanted him and he wasn't available. But,
Miami screwed us.
This might happen on draft night. The Bills might have 2 guys in that area that they really like and 2 other teams really like those guys too, and they're just not going to be able to trade up. It could happen. Anyway, so where are we at here?
Can I? I'm between being prudent and taking, I don't know, Josh Farmer, defensive tackle from Florida State, who I don't love, but who fits a need and fits the archetype of what they want. Or so he's kind of like that. But again, I think getting him here is a bit of a reach, even though it does tick a box, it does fit a need, and he is an archetype fit. I do think it's a bit of a reach. But part of me is sitting here thinking, again, you're going to have to, unless the board falls exactly how you want it, whoever you get here is kind of going to be a reach anyway. So do I want to reach at the position of need, or do I want to dance with the devil and take Andrew Makuba, the safety from Texas, who I really like? Oh, and then part of me is like, oh man, can we trade into the 3rd? And then, but you see, you got to come away with a defensive tackle in this draft. I also, we talked about him briefly, and I don't want to hijack this too much, but I always like to give guys 3 years before making a concrete decision on them. I think Dwayne Carter is built right now is defensive tackle 5. I think you need to get someone ahead of Dwayne Carter. I think he needs to be
agreed.
Yeah. And so I'm not comfortable not addressing that position. And then it's like, okay, can we wait into round 4? And can we get, I would be okay with CJ West in round 4. I'd be okay with Jamari. I'd like Jamari Caldwell. I would take him in round 4. But then again, we're playing that game and doing that dance.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We could take something else right now, and we could take a look mid-90s in round 3 and potentially trade up to go get one of those two guys later in round 3 as opposed to waiting to pick 109. That's on the table. Take a guy somewhere else that you like right now at 62 and kind of examine mid-90s where 109 and 132 could get you to go get a guy. It's on the table too.
I'm going to play with my heart. Let's take Andrew Makuba, safety from Texas.
All right. Okay. This is definitely going to be an upset pick here. I like it. Andrew Makuba from Texas. All right. So we're going to draft him. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay attention. Let me get back to the draft here. Let's see. So far, so good. We're looking at defensive lineman. Omar Norman Lott went. No, he's not. He is visiting the Bills. So I did see a report actually on that on Wednesday, actually. So, like I said, we're going to have to get to the mid-90s before it even becomes realistic. Jalen Royals goes off the board at Chicago. They're having a, all right, so we'll stop here. Joshua Farmer is gone now. He went pick 77 to the New England Patriots.
Yep.
So keep this rolling here. Isaiah Bond goes to Seattle.
Come on.
Like right around here. All right, so here's where we're at right now. I wanted to stop on pick 96 with Philly. This is what we did last week as well. All right, so just to recap a couple of bigger names that went off the board. Receiver Jalen Royals went to Chicago at 72. Jalen Noel went to Dallas at 76. Like I said, Farmer, New England at 77. Let's see. That's pretty much it for the names that we've kind of discussed. Kyle Gennard, talked about a little bit. He goes to Green Bay at 87. Quarterback Will Howard goes to Seattle at pick 92 in the third round.
Back-to-back quarterbacks there, and then Tyler Show goes right after to the Saints.
Jared Ivey, who Dave took last week in round 2, he goes pick 94 to the Cleveland Browns. All right, so here's the deal. Philly is on the clock. Let's go back to players here. Go back to defensive line. This is what
I'm letting it ride. I'm letting it ride.
You still got Codwell. You still got West. You want to let it ride for a while?
You're going to let it ride.
All right, let's let it ride. Let's at least one of them go off the board here. So far, so good.
99.
I just want to look at that. So there you go. All right, so now we're in round 4. We're on the clock. 109. Neither defensive tackle went off the board. Chris Jones, linebacker of note. Chris Paul Jr. went to the Rams at pick 101. I think that's the only one of note. All right, so I know you're taking a defensive tackle at this point. The question comes down to which one do you like more? Which one are you going to go with here? Codwell? You're going to go with West? What are you thinking?
Let me. I'm going back to my notes here. Okay. So it's between. I really do. Again, then part of me is like thinking of the value prop. What's the next 4th round pick the Bills have?
Let me go back. I believe it's. Let me go to your picks here. It's 132. So they're not picking for another 21 spots after this.
And go to, and we're at defensive line. So now I'm trying to like game the system up and think like, okay, like can I still get Jamari Caldwell at 132? Like our 5, 1, 2, 3, 4,
let's put
5.
It this way. It's possible, but what I will say is your spiritual advisor is if you really like a guy at 109 that's not a defensive tackle and you want to play the
I do.
game,
so there is somebody who I like.
Yes, but if there's someone you like, then hey man, you only live once. YOLO.
Go to corner. So I really like Jacob. Did Jacob Parrish go? I think he did because he's higher on their board. Go back to yeah, he's gone. Damn. Go back to the picks.
The overall? To the draft?
Yeah. Scroll up. Where did Jacob Parrish go? He did. He went 103.
New York Giants, 103. Yep. He went 103 to the New York Giants. And we're at 109.
This draft just keeps kicking me in the face.
I like that it's not falling the way, you necessarily hope. I like that having to kind of react and
shut up, Pat.
Switch course a little bit. It makes it a little more interesting.
Alexander. But then even go to the pull up wide receiver.
Wide receiver, which we are in round 4 now, right? Yeah. Okay, so wide receiver.
Okay, so based on who's here. Okay. Go to edge.
Edge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Walker. David Walker is interesting. Oh, Cayman Rucker. But we could probably do that later. Oh boy. Hold on. I'm going through my note rankings right now.
I love it. I just like you playing with the fire when it comes to defensive tackle. Might have to give DaQuan Jones a 3-year extension by the time this mock draft's over.
Oh, don't do that. All right, let's take Jamari Caldwell.
All right, let's go back to all right. So going back defensive. All right, that's the I was again. I don't want to. I might tell you where I'm thinking positional wise, but player wise, I don't want to say no. But this is the guy that I like.
Somebody bigger body dude, 330 plus pounds, but he moves really well on tape for his size. Has some juice and pop to him, but just really adept at handling double teams. Can drop the knee, gum up the works. Can penetrate versus a double. Can anchor versus a double. He's a guy who, if you're sitting there, you're watching for Derek Harmon or you're watching for Jordan Birch, Caldwell just keeps popping and flashing like routinely. Like there's a play against Michigan where he runs their backup quarterback, Orgy, who's like really athletic and mobile. Granted, it's from the short side of the field. He chases him down on the sideline. Like I like the athleticism. I like the run defense ability. And again, I still think this is also part of it too. Let me get back to our original thing. Based on Alexander going off the board, whoever we got after that, I really felt like it was going to be a rotational guy anyway.
Yeah.
So I think Caldwell fits that rotational need, can slot in as defensive tackle for legitimately for the life of his contract for 4 years or so. And instead, we got JTT, who's going to be a solid top 3 edge for you. And you got Andrew Makuba, who I think offers a lot at the safety position and who could play for you this year or be that starter next year, ready to go once Rapp leaves.
Okay, so we took the pick and we took Caldwell. Let's see. Zy Alexander, corner, went to Carolina at 114. Kobe Bryant, always going to love the name, goes to Atlanta at 118. So we're going to let this ride to 132. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to let it run.
All right, so we'll go all the way to 132. This will be the second of the Bills, second of their 2 4th-round picks. All right, so
Kyle Williams went. What?
Wow. See, all right, so I like that though. A little randomness for future use with this app. It surprise you. I was about to say that felt like definitely a receiver. It still may be, but yes, Kyle Williams, a wide receiver that's catching a buzz with the Bills. The Detroit Lions have scooped the Bills twice in this draft now.
I am not pleased. And Noah Williams, I was also thinking too, like, okay, round 4 is ideally where I'd like to double dip at corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted Jacob Parrish. He's gone. Noah Williams is gone. Kobe Bryant does some fun things. He's gone. Hit corner again. I don't care that they think it's. Wait, are we not allowed to take a corner if I want to take a corner? Oh no, we can still draft a corner. They just crossed all these guys out. Okay. Hit corner again. Dorian Strong, Frazier. They all interesting. They have style listed there. Mello Dotson, Jolie. Okay. All right. Okay. Go to edge.
This thing's what's going on with this?
So I think what it's doing is because we already addressed the position or the need, it's crossing these guys out, but we can still draft them if you go to the far right. Like we're still allowed to take.
Okay. All right. I got you.
All right. Now go to wide receiver.
There you go.
Man, all the dudes who I
will say, I don't know anything about him, but I do know Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn is a Bill top 30 visit. Anyway,
I haven't finished my wide receiver evaluations, and I made note of him because he did the visit, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll keep an eye. But he's got like some fun measurables, like 6 foot, 190, which are like, okay, but he runs a 4.37, and he has a 1.53 10-yard split, which is nice. I was really banking on Kyle Williams or Torrey Horton, who I really like. I figured Horton would go. I thought Williams would be here, but obviously he's not. What's our next pick after 132?
After 132, we will be at 169 and 170 and 173. So we're going to have three picks out of 5 coming up of 169, 170, 173 after this pick 132.
Okay. Danny Stutzman, only Gordon, Boss-Giddens. Interesting. Oh, man. Wide receiver again?
Wide receiver. There we go.
Pat Bryant, Jalen Lane, Dyke. I feel like we could again. Now I'm like, well, we could probably wait on like Lambert Smith. I'm like, but I thought for sure we'd get Kyle Williams here based on where he was. He was 153 on I think on the overall board here. So my thought was he would still be available right now based on how the rest of the rankings have distributed the picks. But again, much like real life, can't plan for that. Wow, I'm kind of stumped here. All right, go to edge. Take off wide receiver.
Yep, there you go.
Terrell, Joyner, Quay Robinson, Rucker. I kind of like Rucker after. I don't want to take.
I love the laboring. It feels like you're in a war room right now for real, man. And you're just laboring over what to do. Like this is the process part of.
Go to linebacker. I just want to see. I'm trying to plan all these moves out for later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like Cody Simon and how much he bangs as a linebacker. And he's a guy who I like to target on day 3 from Ohio State. He's down. Mm-hmm. And I like Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame as well. So those are dudes that I like to target later. And on day 3, they're both still available. That makes me feel a little better. So now I'm sitting here just thinking, okay, well, my plan a little bit has kind of gone to pot. So go to interior defensive line again. West, Black, Cross, Jackson. All right, we're going to take another edge. Go to edge. Sorry.
You're good. Edge. Okay.
Quay Robinson, Joyner. This is a pick for me. We're going to go with Rucker from North Carolina. His nickname is the Butcher. I like what he offers. He's a little bit outside their archetype a bit with, size and frame from an overall perspective, but say 17th percentile for arm length, 6'1", 254 pounds, but pass rush plan, plays the run, plays the pass, has a little bit of velociraptor to his game, good rush angles to the QB. So I'm very comfortable with that pick there.
There we go. Well, now we're up to the 5th round. And again, we're going to have 3 of the next 5 picks here right now.
All right, let's go to
one of the guys that we really just spent time talking about were taken between 132 and 169. So guys that you like, there's still going to be plenty of them there. You got the next 2 in a row here now. So
yes.
2.
All right. So we're going to go receiver and linebacker. So receiver. All right. So it doesn't matter. Either way we'll go. Damn. Now I'm kind of like, oh. All right, I got to pull my evaluation notes. Again, I know if somebody's be like he's putting so much effort in this. It's like any of these things.
What it's all about, man. You kidding me? I do a mock. It takes me 13 minutes because I don't put any effort into it. I'm like, I like that name. That name sounds good. Oh, this guy's name's hard to pronounce. I'm not taking him.
Right? That's fair.
That's my scouting.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't love
while you're looking up too, to recap what we've done so far to this point for people listening. We took Trey Amos, the corner in the 1st. We took JTT, edge rusher in round 2. Andrew McCullough, a safety from I believe Penn State, or no, from Texas. My bad.
Yes.
In round 2. Then we took Caldwell, a guy I do like, defensive tackle in 4, and Kalman Rucker, another edge rusher from North Carolina. That's where we're at to this point. And now we're on the clock, and you're about to make 2 straight.
All right. We're going to go. I know they brought Lambert Smith in, but I'm going to go at wide receiver with somebody who's got a bit more juice, close from a juice perspective, but just better testing and more guy who can just take the top off further, bigger size too. Let's take Dante Thornton from Tennessee. 6'4", 205 pounds, 4.3 40. 79th percentile in the broad jump, 1.5 10-yard sprint, which is 80th percentile. I like the measurables. I'll take a guy here with some traits. And then linebacker. Because again, this linebacker is a sneaky one. I just feel like, one, you could always kind of take that spot, but two, with Matt Milano's contract, is he gone next year? Is Dorian stepping up? Okay, then who's your linebacker 3? What does that all kind of look like? I like Kaiser and I like Simon. I'm going to take Simon.
Cody Simon from Ohio State is the pick. We're about to pick again in 2 picks. All right, so we're right back on the clock at 173. Let me just take a quick look here at who went. Jaquez Hunter went to Dallas. Kobe King, linebacker, went to Seattle right before us. All right, so the Bills are back on the clock now. So we're picking now. After this, we're going to have 177. We're going to have 2 more picks after this. So this is 173, folks, and we're going to still have 177 and 206. So there you go. Let me get out of here. All right.
Go to corner.
Players, corner. Okay. It's weird. I kind of like how things got more difficult, so to speak. Like when you kind of have a plan in your mind and then something screws it up.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's literally what happened. And I kind of like that, though. I kind of like the feeling. We do these mocks all the time. It's nice to have one where it's like, oh man, plus we're acting it out here in real time too, instead of just, if you were doing this at home on your computer and weren't doing a podcast, it'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But getting here, the process of all this stuff, some that falls apart, some things you're hoping for in advance, things like that. That's what, to me anyway, makes these mock drafts so much fun and interesting to do.
All right, yeah, so, minus the money I had to spend on a plane ticket to go down to Miami. Miami. And just burn them to the absolute ground. I want to take another corner at this spot. I feel like it's just flyer territory in terms of, I mean, I shouldn't say that, Christian Benford, 6th-round pick, and what he became. But I'm looking for special team value, guy who can do a little bit of something. Don't love Mello. Huzzy is interesting. Tommy Hill does some fun stuff, but the measurables just are not there. Well, he's got the length that they like. Let's go Jason Marshall Jr., corner from Florida.
Jason Marshall Jr. All right, I found him. Okay. So we took a second corner here. Again, we got 2 more picks, and we're going to be up at what did I do wrong here? Did we pick already? Are we up again?
Yeah, we're up again.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got 177, and then we got 206. All right, so the Bills are up on the clock here. This is your second last pick. At this point, we're going to pick out.
That's right. We're going
to play through. Quickly here, just an observation, and I think it was 100% the right call. Simon or Kaiser, same exact thing I would have done. There's going to be people who clamor in that 5th round because the Bills got 3. They're going to clamor for Sean Dolak, which, by the way, I don't care where you're going. 5th round, 6th round, undrafted free agent, whatever. I'll be pulling for him, and it would not surprise me, knowing him on a personal level, to see him succeed. He's got that fire, talent, and skills, but there's just more accomplished linebackers at that spot at that point. Accomplished meaning traitsy that translates to the NFL. There's a reason why they're ranked higher, and trust me, no one will be pulling for Sean Dolak more than me. Anyway, all right, so you got 2 picks left here, man. Running back, O-line, safe. Oh, you did take a safety already.
Let's look at interior O-line.
I'm a big fan of you taking 3 DBs in this draft, by the way.
I think the secondary needs to get a little more athletic. I think they need to solidify some things a little bit. It's a spot where it's a premium spot. Even again, safety, people might not view it as that, but I just think they need more juice at that in the secondary in general. They need a CB2, but Makuba just increases the play recognition, the athleticism, the trigger ability, the ability to play from the top down. Plus, he can also do some like dime linebacker, slot, monster man stuff. He doesn't prefer it. That's what he did at Clemson. He likes being more of a true safety, and I think he can be that, even though he's 190 pounds.
Well, I love it, man.
I was thinking the whole like interior offensive lineman piece, which we didn't hit on a ton, but let's take I know he's coming off of an injury, but we're gonna stash him for a little bit. Let's grab Seth McLaughlin, center from Ohio State, who played at Bama, transferred to Ohio State. I'm gonna kind of hedge for some bets with a guy who's really smart, does a lot from a leadership perspective, and is a fun center late. Oh, I was gonna take Riley Leonard last.
Oh, the quarterback from Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you a QB.
So yeah, here it is. We're last pick of the draft for the Bills anyway, I should say.
Oh, there we go. I was thinking of taking a running back. I really like the way Jordan James runs from Oregon. Yeah, just really hard. Goes through. Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, but Blue is there. I'm gonna play for the juice. Give me Jaden Blue from Texas.
Jaden Blue.
Speed.
All right, there we go. So Jaden Blue, running back from Texas. We'll let this wrap up.
And before anybody yells at me, like this is look how late this pick is. It's like, let's take somebody fun. Like, I'm not trying to.
I'm looking through.
You took Jaden Blue.
I'm looking through as this finishes up. I'm trying to see if Sean Dolak ends up going off the board. It's not going to be likely. Actually, there's still some of these going because, again, the Bills didn't have a 7th round pick. So we ended up making all of our picks. We explored trades. We tried to trade, and it just wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to allow us to. All right. So the draft grade, let me put this out there. They gave us a D. By the way, last week, I think he got a D2 as well, David did, which obviously that means jack shit right now. But let's recap here. So,
they gave us a C+ for Amos. Wow.
Yeah, Amos got a C+. JTT, round 2, edge rusher, he got a B. Andrew Makuba from Texas, safety, got a C. I think that's a bad grade. Caldwell got a C-? I can't see that well. Rucker, the edge rusher from Carolina, he got a D+. Wide receiver Dante Thornton from Tennessee, C+. Cody Simon, linebacker, a B+. Jason Marshall, also in the 5th. What did he get? A C. And then we had Seth McLaughlin. What is he? That's a B. Late in the 6th round, and then Jalen Blue, which was what is that?
A B-. Everything is based off of where you took them and what their ranking was. So if you took a guy like at 5 and they had him as the 10th overall player, that's a -5 thing, and then that factors into the grade. I think for what we did, I think Rucker is probably the biggest reach, but there's the 4th round picks. And the pick 62, I think, are your biggest reaches, depending on who. I'm not saying for us, I'm just saying like for the Bills, based on how their picks are laid out. At 62, I feel like they really could reach for someone because you're not picking again until 109. And then, we got into that spot who all the guys who I would have loved to take at 109, Jacob Parrish, gone. Oladejo, the edge from UCLA, he was gone.
Williams.
Williams, I was going to take at 132.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And here's the funny thing, too. We would have gotten slayed for that grade because Williams was player 153. So that would have been a 21-point difference, which probably would have given us a C or a C-. So it wouldn't have been that much better. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. I felt like Rucker was a reach, but he's a player that I like. I would have where we took Thornton, that's where I'll put it. Where we took Rucker, I wanted Kyle Williams. Where we took Thornton, I wanted Rucker.
Right.
And granted, that would have significantly changed the grade, which I don't really care about the grade. But
the grade means 0.
Yes. I pulled the trigger on Rucker because I was like, well, I'll take this guy now because the receiver I wanted was gone, and we can probably take another receiver later. We could have pivoted to interior offensive line or one of these other spots, but I figured just like in real life, McLaughlin coming off that injury, I figured he would be available late. Anderson is your guard backup flexibility going forward. You've got Van Pran Granger. McLaughlin you can stash, and maybe he becomes an interior offensive lineman help for you at center next year, and you kind of play that game. with that. So that was kind of a thought. So we could have gone interior O-line a bit earlier. Could have flipped some picks, but overall, let me get your thoughts on this class before I give mine, I guess.
I like it. I think you got a solid first round pick again for the second straight week. I think that's a plug and play. He's just for sure day one starter. I should never say for sure with the rookie, but he would certainly be in line. He'd be the favorite to be the day one starter.
He's my CB4. I am I'm very high on him. I know some of like national things have come around on him. Like Daniel Jeremiah likes him and is mocking him in the first a bunch now. A lot of people are sending him to the Packers. He's come around for like a lot of people. But he's been my CB4 through a majority of this process, only behind Hunter, Johnson, and Barron. So yeah, I agree. I think he's plug and play starter.
I also I think Field Yates said that he would be a perfect fit for Buffalo. I think he would be on WGR or something like that in the last day or so. I heard him talking about him as well. So I like that. What's interesting to me is the second round getting taken back, not once, but twice, because first, the way this played out for us in this specific mock draft was we wanted Darius Alexander. We tried to trade up for him, and Miami just wasn't going to do it. So, if we could go back and do it all over again, you'd say, well, we better hop Miami and go get him. You know what I mean? But that's the fun. Again, this is such a fun exercise. I keep using that word exercise because that's literally what it is. But yeah, Miami screwed us here. And then the other thing, which I still love the safety that you took anyway, but Xavier Watts was probably going to be your pick at 62.
Yes.
And he went 61 or 60.
Yeah, he went right over 59, like 2 picks before we went, or 2 or 3, maybe 60. And I like Makuba. And so, again, when I'm finalizing my safety rankings, just based off of, let me pull where I'm at right now.
Xavier Watts went 2 picks before, by the way. He went to Detroit at 60 in our mock draft.
So I'm a little bit lower on Emanwari than some other folks. I think it's more of I think some of the fit stuff is a little wonky, but Watts is my safety 2. Makuba is my safety 3. So I would have taken Watts there. He was gone. I'll take Makuba instead. I think just what he offers the defense and what he could do. Also another dude that has visited with the Bills, I believe, which doesn't necessarily mean what people think it means. Like, it doesn't mean that they love this guy and they want to give him everything and give him a tour and see what's up. It could be you're just trying to answer some stuff. You might have a visit, and then when they leave, it's like, hey, man, thanks for coming. And then they're like, well, let's cross him off the board. That was terrible. But yeah, I liked it. I really like the first 2. Amos, I think, is your plug-and-play CB2 right now. JTT, I think, gets to be your edge 4 this year, but he's built to be a solid edge 2 for years with how he plays the run, his speed to power and pocket compression ability. I don't think him and Jack Sawyer, I know they get grouped together from Ohio State. I don't think they're in the same tier or stratosphere. I think JTT is significantly better. And so I'm very happy with that. And I like Makuba too. And I like Caldwell. I don't really care about that grade. I'm happy with this draft, even though I'm pissed. I can't believe Miami wouldn't trade with
It's not a fancy pants. It's not an artsy fartsy draft. I think it's a very practical and effective draft. For what it's worth, that was just while you were talking to. I was also scanning through Dane Brugler from The Athletic as his beast out now with his rankings. And he actually has JTT ranked ahead of Landon Jackson. Again, a guy who's really popular amongst Bills fans. Yeah, I love it, man. I really do. And I really love the exercise. I love the fact that everything didn't come easy too. Like if it would have been everything that you wanted, I mean, it could happen. Brandon Beane could walk in on April 24th and 25th and 26th, and everything that he hopes happens could play out that way, but not likely. And he's going to try to trade up with somebody, and they're not going to do it. And he might misjudge how high he's got to go or how far back he wants to go and still get a guy. You know what I mean? So that's the whole fun of this stuff, man. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you, man. This was a hell of a time, dude. It really was. Make sure you follow Anth on Twitter. I'm sure you are already. I'll put a link, cover one, all that stuff in the show notes, man. Thanks for doing this, man. I really do. I appreciate you. I like having you on. Like next time you come on, we'll have more of a conversation. This was a specific purpose, but I'm already looking forward to this time next year when you come on for a 3rd straight year and kind of reviewing this. Before I go, one last question.
Yeah.
You know how you feel about this draft. We've talked about how we feel. Not that it matters, because again, I said this, we're not in the people-pleasing business. We're in putting out the best product for the team possible. What do you think when I put a promo up tomorrow on the show and, eventually a graphic or whatever, but what do you think Bills fans, what do you think their reaction is going to be?
Oh, I think Amos is a tricky one for some fans. I've seen both ends of it. I've seen people be like, "Yep, love him." I've seen people comment on my show and be like, "Yo, you've convinced me this guy's great." I've also seen people be like, "I can't believe you're still banging the drum for Amos. Like that doesn't make any sense." So I think that one could be a little polarizing maybe. I think JTT will probably be largely solid. I think people like Makuba, I think they're going to yell that we didn't get an interior defensive lineman in the first 3 picks or
Yeah.
question that. But I think, and I don't know how much people know Caldwell to be like, that's your defensive tackle. Like that's the guy you got. So I could see some hemming and hawing. I could see a lot of like, oh, solid first 2 picks, but the rest of the draft fell apart, which obviously I disagree with. But yeah,
Right.
I think I'm scared.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what people think. And again, thank you so much, Anthony. Next week, I'll be doing this with Bruce Nolan. That'll be fun as well. Again, make sure you check out Cover One, Disguise Coverage, Film Room, and Anthony does with Eric. It is literally elite shit, man. Go check it out. Thanks, brother.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys, be back with a brand new show coming up tomorrow.